Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Mike. It is Sunday, the 31st of May. This is our week ahead video. So we come into a week with a lot going on. And so my thought process here is very simple. You can see the SPY here closed at the highs on Friday, and futures are up here as we go into the 5 o'clock hour as we get ready to rock over the overnight session. You can see here what's going on is that basically we just came back off the 8 day. We held the 8 day and we're right back up, and everything looks just fine as we go into what is a very kind of busy week. And the economic standpoint, we have a lot going on. We have manufacturing, construction spending, and ISM tomorrow morning, right? Then we have Redbook, don't care about that. Then we have PMI services, that's interesting. ISM non-manufacturing and factory orders, that'll be a player. Really the big thing to watch out for is the employment report on Friday. And that could be one that shocks this market a little bit. We'll have to see how that plays out. The other thing to watch is to see what China does. China is notoriously very tight-lipped until they're ready to go. But bottom line is markets roared after Trump spoke because at the end of the day, I've listened to his speech twice. He screamed, he carried on, he was very vocal, angry, but the bite was a lot worse. I'm sorry, the bark was a lot worse than the bite, meaning he talked a big game, but he didn't really actually do much. So we have the SPY here looking like it's getting ready to go again. This 313 area is the next area I'm watching for. We've talked about that at length. And then you watch the cues because the cues are going to be the tell. If the market's worried about what's going on with China, the cues are likely to get hit the hardest. They're the ones that won't go. And look how it came right back up to this level on Friday. If we launch, here's your all-time high at 237.47. Keep that in mind. So where does that bring us to today? I went over a lot of charts with you. Let's just go into some of them here and let's just start talking about it. So I'm not a huge fan of the fins, but if the fins decide to go, right? The fins here, the XLF has gap to fill up to this area, this 25 area. And the name that's been leading there, Chris was the right one. He jumped on it. We talked about it last Sunday, but Goldman Sachs went above the 200 days. The only one that's leading. You look at Goldman Sachs, you look at JP Morgan, well below the 200 day. You look at Bank of America, well below the 200 day. Citigroup, well below it. Goldman Sachs. So if the banks pop again, the name you want here is Goldman Sachs. So that's something we'll keep an eye on going into tomorrow and this week. XLE and energy, again, not my favorite space, very tight here, but if oil goes off, the name I want is Schlumberger because of this big gap that's sitting up here that is just toying against. We talk about that. Chevron is my favorite name in the space, looks great, but see Schlumberger, that gap wants to go to it. If we go to healthcare and biotech, a lot of names popped this week. IFBB is just right at all-time highs, just off of it. If you look what's going on, I'm not BHC, I don't know what the catalyst here, but you have a gap in a very tight chart. You have ABT waking back up here, moving up. Even J&J did the same thing. So there's strength in this space. Gilead woke up, no specific news. BioMarin, which I am long and I am nice and green on. I'm up about 20 bucks on my stock here. There's a buyout rumor on them. Heard this a lot before, but this one seems a little bit more realistic. We'll see. If they get bought out, I suspect it's going to be between 120 and 130. Just to give you a heads up on that. If you're looking at that, that's the thing I like. Switching to retail, Costco, how they bought back the earnings weakness on Friday and back up here. I'd watch this. I think this one again, if it can get going here over 312, this thing may launch up and go. So we'll keep an eye on Costco. Target also acting well, may go with it. Home Depot here at all-time highs has been just a fabulous name lately. Any dip to the 8 days been buyable. And Ulta goes kind of with Costco. Same thing. They bought the earnings weakness. You have to like the way this name's trading. So if it can really get going here, especially if it starts to get above this 250, this thing can rock. So, quick look at the retail section if they want to rotate in. Other things to watch, UPS acting much better here along with Federal Express. These are in the transports. These wake up. That's generally good for the markets. Again, look how far below the 200-day they are. You want to see these start to play catch up. If this market's going to rock, you need some of these sectors to start playing catch up, and they haven't yet. Really haven't come off the lows. So you got to watch some names like this. China, if the news doesn't come out and there's nothing else, and this is a dead, a zero-sum game, look at that engulfing candle on BABA here. Now in that gap fills up to this 210 area, and then if it really wants to get going, BABA can launch JD as well. JD, remember, is one of my favorite names in the space. Still very worried about it, but keep an eye on them. Outside of that, you got Conagra here. I haven't traded this name in forever, but waking up and it gets above 35. This can run. The one thing I was really impressed with this week was just how good the charts looked. Casinos yawned off the reopening, but they have Macau numbers coming in tomorrow. So watch Wynn or LVS. These are the two of the bigger players in that space to see if they wake up. Neither of them has been acting particularly special at this point. The real place I wanted to focus on this week, if we rock, is the semis. The SMH here has a gap to fill. It starts at 141.22. It goes all the way up to 145. For those of you that rather play with an index or individual names, this is your game. This is your gap fill. Play for that. For me, I would focus on NVIDIA. This name has been best in breed right now, acting well, curling up, looks great for a run, breaks above 367 area, and I think it runs to 370, maybe even higher. AMD has been tough, but nice candle. Again, if the semis take off, this one at least goes back to 56, is trading at 54. And if it can break above this area here, this thing may just finally get loose and take out that all-time high at 60. Intel also flagging. Nice look here above 64. And this really comes down to a pick your name. Micron, do not love the action the last 2 days, but I do think this name is trying to get going here. Again, it really needs to clear 50 to get rocking, but watch this one. If the semis wake up, this is certainly positioned to do so. Other names in the space, secondary Qualcomm, nice flag here. This one looks like it wants to rock if it can hold above this like 81 area. XLNX, another name that looks great, has a gap here that starts at 91. You can see it right here on the very east left edge of your screen. So, again, it's just about looking for these setups. They all look really good. AMAT going sideways looks great, similar. LRCX, another name that going sideways looks good. And the Mac Daddy Avgo, which broke out, has earnings this week. So that could be a catalyst for all of these. So keep that in mind. Coming closer to home and back to tech, Google, the last 2 weeks we played for that gap and it's just been frustrating as all hell. That said, it's butting up against it. If it gets in that gap, I think it takes it. If the markets go, and that's a 30-point gap that I want to be in play and I want to make money on. Apple, again, a little choppy here. All-time highs at 327.85. And you can see here, it's just kind of sitting here saying, it looked like it was ready to go twice this week. And then the China stuff hit it. But ultimately, it's holding the 8-day, showing incredible strength. So dips to the 8-day, you buy until they break, and you look for a breakout. If it gets above this 324 area, this thing can rock, take out that 327 and go. This thing not, trying to get its acting gear and trying to get going. Take that aside, I want to talk about EA, another name here. It has this big gap it's coming into, starts at 121. And again, open it up sometimes. You got to look at your charts. I added to this. I added more shares to this. I added 50% of the shares I've had to this. You have this big gap that starts here. Why did I add? I got caught in this. I'm not afraid to admit my mistakes. There was huge option buying. We were looking for news. We thought they were about to get bought by Microsoft. I was long stock and options. Options I took the hit on. Stock I've sat in through all this. And now right here, if it comes back, it can run all the way up to 127 area or maybe 129. So I added back some more stock. So I have 50% now more than I had. And what that means is now this, runs. If it fills that gap, I'll be nice and profitable. I can take my profits. But EA looks good. The overall chart pattern looks very, very nice here as we go into it. Chewy, big wake up this week, running up. Again, another big Friday candle. Did this last Friday too. Big candle, Monday, Tuesday, comes down. This name likes to just play games, but gets above here. You look for a move to 46, and then above 46, this can go. So keep an eye on Chewy. Space, I bring this up not because I love the name, but because it has the SpaceX event, and it can run. Now, if it runs, play it. But remember, it has resistance up here around this 20 to 21 area. So see how it does there. Everybody asking me about Tesla, I really do not know. And the reason I bring this up is that, okay, you take Tesla in here, you have it move this big move on Friday. They had the SpaceX launch. Rephrase. Elon Musk had the SpaceX launch. It's a completely separate company that has nothing to do with Tesla. It is not a public company, it's a private company. Now, what makes this so important? It closed at 835. Over 835, it runs to this candle around 850. Over 850, you look for it to take out this candle at around, we'll call it 870, 75, 870. It gets above that, you got to move through this little gap up here. You're up at 883, and this thing can run. The question for me is, what's the real reaction? My guess is it's up pre-market, and then we see. By that, what I mean is that, then we see what it really, really wants to do. Careful with this thing tomorrow. It could move. It could also come crashing back in on a gap and crap. Another stock that looks really great here is TTD. TTD has just kind of been going sideways, rebuilding, and I really like this thing over 319. A ton of charts look set. This market looks very, very strong here as we go into tomorrow. If we have no China news, I suspect this market wants to rip higher. It's a new month. We get inflows tomorrow morning. This is all good stuff. So I hope you guys had a great weekend. It's been relaxing. Let's talk about the queen or the king. That would be DraftKings. DraftKings, evidently, I'm down to about 100 shares. I asked them to stop. I have a stop in at 39. I did actually trim out some more, but believe it or not, I didn't get a chance to post it at 40.40. Why? Because I threw up 100 shares to sell there, and they took it. I got lucky. I got top tick onto the damn thing after hours. And what I mean by that is after hours, I kept putting shares up, and I got top ticked. That's fine. So right now I'm sitting in 100 shares from the 1,000 shares I had earlier on Friday at 37.50. And you're like, well, Mike, what do you mean? Oh, I bought 37.50. I bought 1,000 shares. Up in some here and here, I sold calls against it. I'm up for 40 cents at the 39s. I bought them back at 10 cents, made 300 bucks, and I took it back off and it ran. And then at 39.11, I sold my first 500. I sold another couple hundred more at 39.11, and evidently I'm at another 100, and I have 100 shares left. And what I'll do here with this name is do the same thing I've been doing with it. I will continue to try to let this 100 work. If it stops out, it stops out. And I'll continue to buy weakness on this thing and get back to full positions until this name finally just quits. It's trading well. This is the type of name you want to keep staying with. Even though it's up a ton and it just continues to rally, you want to stay with this stuff. So bottom line is, find what you want, see what you want. You guys say I don't stay with Stay long enough. Well, here's one I've stayed in all day long. You guys could have all participated in. You didn't. I've done this twice this week. Twitter, by the way, I've trimmed way back. I'm back to where I was post that flow. So what that means is I'm back down to 500 shares. I had almost, believe it or not, I had almost 5,000 shares between my two accounts at one point on this thing. I'm back to 500, and now I will just see what this thing wants to do. 500 has been the core position I've been holding for a while. That said, we'll see what it wants here. I don't think this is a game over for Twitter. I do think it's game over for Jack. I think his taking on Trump, while admirable, it's just a bad business move, and this will hasten his removal from the company. So everybody have a great evening. Enjoy your day, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. And let's go make some money this week, huh?